Can I get your order? The Korean woman looked up slowly, like Nia had interrupted a royal audience. Her eyes moved across Nia's face, her skin, her locks, her uniform, traveling the full length of her like she was reading something unpleasant on a wall. Then she laughed. You're the one serving us? Yes, ma'am. No, she waved her hand. No, thank you. I need good Korean food, real Korean food. And I honestly don't think, she tilted her head, lips curving, you can give me that. Nia breathed once, slowly through her nose. She had left Nigeria with nothing but a bag, a scholarship letter, and her grandmother's voice in her head telling her that wherever she landed, she should stand on both feet. She had crossed an ocean. She had learned a language from scratch. She had spent 3 years in culinary school mastering cuisines from 4 continents. She had built this restaurant from a tiny space that used to be a phone repair shop. So she kept her cool, because this lady definitely hated to see a black, courageous, cool, and successful woman. Everything on the menu is available, ma'am. The woman looked at her over one more time. Then, with the energy of someone doing a stranger an enormous favor, she picked up the menu. Bulgogi, and make sure the meat is actually seasoned properly. Nia wrote it down. Then she turned to the man sitting beside her. He had not looked up once, not when she walked over, not through the whole exchange. His thumb moved slowly across his phone screen, and his face held an expression of someone who had gone somewhere else entirely inside his own head. Suit dark, jaw sharp, 2 men standing just behind his chair like pillars, eyes scanning the room. And what would you order, sir? The silence that followed made the room feel smaller. The woman's glass clinked as her hand knocked it. Behind Nia, the young worker who had followed her out made a sound, a small, involuntary intake of breath, and then said nothing. What? Said the woman, very quietly. Did you just say to him? Nia looked at her. I asked for his order. Do you have any idea? She stopped, collected herself, started again. Do you know who that is? Nia looked at the man, still on his phone. Am I supposed to know him, or is he God? That was what Nia wanted to say, but instead she said, I don't. The woman leaned forward and said it like she was delivering a verdict. That is Kang Ji-Min. She waited for the rest of it. He has an eating disorder. Her voice went low, clipped like she was reading from a medical file she found embarrassing. He barely eats. When he does eat, he doesn't enjoy it. He chews because his body requires him to, and not for any other reason. Thousands of chefs have attempted. Thousands. And you, she gestured at Nia's notepad, you walked over here and asked to take his order, as though he is just sitting at a regular table. Nia looked at Kang Ji-Min one more time. He turned a page on his phone. She closed her notepad. I'll take your order and have everything out shortly. She turned and walked back to the kitchen, pushed through the kitchen door, and when it swung shut behind her, she exhaled through her teeth and said, Such arrogance. Then she tied her apron tighter and got back to work.
Welcome to Afro-K House of Stories, where the drama is always real and the tea is always better. If this is your first time here, you belong here. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, like this video, and share it with someone who needs a good story today.
Nia moved through the dining floor the way she always did, reading every table at once, sensing who needed water before they raised a hand, who needed a moment before she approached. She had been running this restaurant for 4 years, and she knew its rhythm. She was refilling someone's tea when she heard someone call her. Nia? She turned. Mr. and Mrs. Kwan were waving at her from their corner table. Their favorite corner, the one with the warm light that came through the frosted window in the afternoon. They were dressed up, small coordinating effort in their outfits that told her this was not a regular visit. She crossed the room toward them already smiling. Nia, you are blessed. Mrs. Kwan reached for her hand the moment she was close enough. "We want your special today. My husband and I are celebrating." "Celebrating what?" Nia asked, even though something in Mrs. Kwan's face had already told her. 50 years, Mr. Kwan said. He said it simply, without performance. Nia pressed both hands to her own cheeks. 50 years! Mr. and Mrs. Kwan, 50 years! That is not just a celebration, that is a whole testimony. She grabbed both their hands across the table. "Today is on the house. Put your wallets away. Don't even think about it." Mrs. Kwan laughed in that high, bright way she had, the laugh that made her look 40 years younger, and Mr. Kwan covered his wife's hand with his, and Nia gave a nod that carried every bit of the dignity of someone who loved someone for 5 decades and knew exactly what that was worth. Nia walked back to the kitchen feeling something warm moving through her chest. She made the Jellof rice. Her grandmother's recipe, reconstructed from memory, and a handwritten list of ingredients she had found tucked inside an old Bible the year after the funeral. Plum tomatoes and red peppers, blended smooth, fried in oil until the raw sharpness cooked off and something richer took over. Bay leaves, stock that she made herself on Thursdays and stored in labeled containers at the back of the fridge. Long grain rice added when the base was ready, not before, and then the heat dropped low, lid on, everything left alone to absorb and develop and settle into itself. And at the very end, the flame turned up just slightly, just for a minute, so that the bottom of the pot caught, not burned, not ruined, just marked, just kissed with that thin layer of char that gave it the smoky depth that made people go quiet on a first bite. She cooked it her grandmother had taught her. When she carried it out, the aroma came with her. She set it down in front of the Kwans. Mrs. Kwan closed her eyes, closed them for 1 full second. "Enjoy," Nia said softly. "Thank you, my dear girl." She stepped back, and that was when she saw it. Across the room, Kang Ji-Min had stopped scrolling. His thumb was still, just stopped, resting against the screen like it had simply forgotten its instructions. His head came up. His eyes moved across the dining room and found the Kwan's table and stayed there. His face didn't change, but something underneath it did. His throat moved. He swallowed. The woman beside him was still talking. Her voice continued at its regular volume and pace, something about a venue and a name and a date, none of which was reaching him anymore. He was watching Mr. Kwan lift his spoon. Up. He watched the rice. Down. He watched the old man's expression settle into quiet, complete satisfaction. His phone slipped from his fingers and landed flat on the table. "Ji-Min?" The woman stopped talking. He raised one finger into the air, a signal that said wait or stop or I am occupied with something that does not involve you. He turned slightly and spoke to the man standing behind his right shoulder, quiet, direct. "Bring me that." The man moved immediately. The woman stared at him. "What? What do you... That's... Ji-Min, that's rice." He did not respond. Nia watched from across the floor. She picked up a fresh plate. "I'll serve him myself," she said to her workers. She set the plate in front of him. Spoon placed beside it, napkin to the left. He looked at it. Then he looked at her. For the first time since she had approached his table, he actually looked at her. Then he looked back at the plate. He picked up the spoon. The woman beside him said, "You are not seriously going to..." He ate. And then something happened to his face that Nia did not expect and could not have prepared for. It didn't change all at once. It changed in layers. The first thing was stillness. Everything in him just stopped. Then the brows drew together, not in displeasure, but in the concentrated expression of someone trying to catch something fast-moving in low light. Then his eyes widened, just slightly, just enough. He put the spoon down, picked it back up, ate again. Inside his head, and this was not something Nia could see, but was happening with full intensity. It was like a room lighting up section by section. Tomatoes, pepper, the oil it was cooked in, the stock underneath, the smoke at the edges. Something in the depth of it that wasn't a single ingredient, but the result of time, of patience, of cooking something slowly enough that it became more than the sum of what went into it. He had eaten expensive food his entire life. Technically correct food, elaborately presented food, food that people talked about for months after eating it. And it had all, every single time, tasted like nothing, like texture without meaning. Like his body was processing fuel, and his mind had simply never been invited to the meal. This tasted like someone had made it thinking about the person who was going to eat it. He exhaled through his nose. "What kind of rice is this?" he asked, very quietly. "Jollof rice, Nigerian cuisine, my grandmother's recipe." He stared at the plate for a moment. Then he laughed, short, genuine, and completely involuntary. He shook his head once like he was trying to clear it. "This is insane." He picked up the spoon again immediately. "Excuse me!" The Korean woman stood up, both hands flat on the table, chair pushed back. "You sit through every dinner I plan. You push food around on your plate like it offended you personally. You make me feel like an idiot for even trying to find something you'll eat." Her voice was climbing. "And now you are sitting here eating what? What is that? Jellof? Jollof? Some rice from I don't even know where. And you won't even look at me." He took another spoonful. "I'm done." She grabbed her bag off the back of her chair with both hands. "I am finished, completely and entirely finished with you, Kang Ji-Min." She walked out. He asked for more rice. Later, the lunch hour had cleared. Most tables were empty. The afternoon light had shifted to that low, golden angle that made the restaurant look warmer than it already was. Kang Ji-Min was still sitting there. 2 full plates. His men stood at their posts with the careful expressions. He set his spoon down, called Nia, and said, "Sit." Nia raised her eyebrows. "Excuse me?" He looked at her. "Please." She considered this for a moment. Then she pulled out the chair across from him and sat, because she was the owner of this restaurant and she could sit wherever she liked. "I'm sorry about her and how I acted like it wasn't my business," he said. "My father won't let me be if I don't take her out. He's been trying to set me up." She studied him, up close. "It's all good. Customers are always right." Huh. So the famous mob boss Kang Ji-Min isn't so arrogant after all. Nia is definitely impressed. Don't judge a cover by its book. How does that saying go again? Kang Ji-Min reached into the inside pocket of his jacket and placed a card on the table in front of her. "I want more of your cooking," he said. "And I want your number." Nia looked at the card, then at him. Then she picked it up. "Weekends only," she said, "and I choose the menu." He nodded. The first Saturday, she made a goosey soup with pounded yam. He sat at her kitchen counter and watched her work in a silence that wasn't awkward. It was attentive. "You use your hands," he said. "You eat it with your hands." He looked at the pounded yam. "I'm not using my hands." "Then you're not eating it correctly." He used his hands. He ate half the pot. He didn't say a word for almost 10 minutes, and then he said, "What is egusi?" "Ground melon seeds." He stared at her. "This is made from melon seeds?" "Yes." "This specific taste?" "Melon seeds, palm oil, leafy greens, stockfish." She leaned on the counter. "And patience. You can't rush it." He was quiet again. "You can taste patience in food." Every time. He looked at the pot again, then back at his hands, then at her, processing all of this. "Is that why your jollof rice tastes the way it does?" "Partly," she started washing up. "The other part is my grandmother." The second Saturday, she made her version of doenjang jjigae. She had spent a long time on this one, adjusting it carefully, adding her own understanding of fermentation and depth from a different tradition. He sat up straighter when he tasted it, not just because it was good, but because it was familiar and surprising at the same time. "You made Korean food," he said. "International Culinary Program, 3 years. Nigerian, Korean, French, British." She turned the heat down on another pot. "I needed to be able to cook for anyone who walked through my door." "Your Korean food tastes different from normal Korean food." "It should. I'm not Korean." He stared at her. He was quiet for a moment, then, "Your name is Nia," Yes. You have another name. She looked at him. Ijeoma. He repeated it back. Perfectly. The stress in exactly the right place, the vowels open and clean. She stopped what she was doing. You got that right. He told you I have a good ear. He watched her. What does it mean? Good journey. She turned back to the stove. My grandmother gave it to me. He was quiet for a long moment after that. It suits you, he said eventually. She didn't respond, but something in her chest settled, quietly, like a thing that had been standing for a long time finally found a place to sit. Third Saturday. She had barely finished blending the tomatoes when she heard the knock. She opened the door. The man standing there had Kang Ji-Min's jaw and Kang Ji-Min's stillness, and about 30 extra years of having everyone in a room pay attention to him the moment he entered it. His coat was plain and expensive. His face gave nothing. I see, he said, looking at her carefully, that you are the one hiding my son. Every nerve in Nia's body sent up a signal. She started. I came to say a few things to you. He stepped past her into the apartment. How dare you? Her heart stopped. Please, Lord, save me, she said in her mind. Then he had stopped. How dare you make such good food? The man smiled brightly, sending relief to Nia. His nostrils flared slightly. His eyes went directly to the kitchen counter where she had set out her ingredients: tomatoes, peppers, rice, a pot she had pre-seasoned with stock earlier that morning. He walked toward them. Nia watched him pick up a tomato and examine it the way a man examines something he intends to have an opinion about. Sir, I haven't. Abaji. Kang Ji-Min came down the stairs, still fastening his watch, took in the scene in one look. His father, the tomato, Nia's expression, and crossed the kitchen in 4 steps. He took the tomato from his father. His father let it go without argument. I was looking. You were 2 seconds from asking where the oil is. I was assessing the quality. His father turned to look at him fully. This is how you dress when you come here. No tie? It's Saturday. Saturday is not a category. Saturday is just a day. Ji-Min sucked the tomato down. What are you doing here? I came to meet her. His father said it simply, like it was obvious, like the answer to that question should require no explanation. Ji-Min looked at Nia. Nia looked back at him with an expression that said, you have exactly 5 seconds to manage this situation. His father had already moved past both of them and was examining the inside of the pot. Jellof rice? Yes, Nia said. He talks about it constantly, he said, not to Ji-Min, to Nia directly. 3 weeks, my son, who has not expressed an opinion about food since he was 8 years old, sat at my dinner table and said, and these are his exact words, there is a rice that tastes like it was made by someone who made it with love and patience. Ji-Min studied the ceiling with great attention. Nia pressed her lips together. He said that 4 times at dinner, twice during a business meeting about logistics. The meeting was not, your exact words, Ji-Min, I was there. Ji-Min cleared his throat, said nothing. His father turned back to Nia and his expression rearranged itself into something deliberate, something he had prepared before arriving. For helping my son, he said, you have done something I believed could no longer be done. He paused. He is eating properly. He looks, another pause. He looks healthy. Nia didn't know what to say. Thank you, he said. Then he pulled out a chair at her dining table and sat down. Now, he said, folding his hands on the table, when will the rice be ready? Abaji, I am sitting. I am waiting. These are not unreasonable things. Ji-Min looked at Nia. Nia picked up her knife. About an hour, she said. They ate together, the 3 of them, and it was not quiet. Ji-Min's father had opinions about everything, the ratios, the color, the particular way the rice had charred slightly at the bottom, which he declared was the correct way and that most people got wrong. He told a story about a meal he had eaten in 1987 that destroyed a business negotiation. Ji-Min corrected 3 details in the story. His father dismissed all 3 corrections. Nia sat between them and ate her food and watched them argue with the fondness of people who have had the same argument many times and enjoy it, and she thought, oh, so this is where he learned that stillness, and this is where it came from, and this is what's underneath it. After, Ji-Min's father stood, buttoned his coat, and looked at Nia for a moment. Next Saturday, he said, I'll make puff puff. He didn't know what that was, but he nodded with authority and left. Ji-Min closed the door behind him, turned around, looked at her. I'm sorry about him. Don't be. She was already stacking the plates. He's wonderful. Ji-Min opened his mouth. It didn't arrive dramatically. No particular evening, no particular moment where someone said something profound while rain fell outside a window. In the way she learned that he took his coffee without sugar, and she learned that she couldn't cook without music, and they both just adjusted around each other without discussion. How he started tasting things she gave him and having opinions, actual opinions, specific ones. Things like, this needs more depth, you're missing something fermented. And her arguing back that he had been eating food for 3 months and was not in a position to critique fermentation, and him being completely unbothered by this and just repeating himself. One afternoon, she had a pot on the stove and was tasting from a wooden spoon, frowning slightly, and she held the spoon out toward him without thinking. The automatic gesture of a cook who wants a second palate. And he leaned over and tasted it and said, more pepper. And she said, I know, I was getting there. And when she looked up, he was already looking at her. Is it crazy? He said. What is crazy? She replied. If I say I love you. She turned back to the stove, added the pepper, adjusted the flame. No, she said, because I love you too. 6 months later, Kang Ji-Min's father wept at the wedding. Fully committed tears that he attempted to contain with a handkerchief and failed at completely. His men stood around him in suits, staring at various fixed points on the ceiling with great discipline. Nia's family arrived from Nigeria days before the wedding and immediately took over every space, loud and present and joyful in a way that filled a room right up to its edges and then kept going. Her aunties found their way to the catering setup within 40 minutes and had inserted themselves into the proceedings before anyone could stop them. Her mother danced with Ji-Min's father at the reception, full Afro-K and matching gele, absolutely confident, leading him through the steps with cheerful authority. And Ji-Min's father followed with the expression of a man who has decided that dignity is not actually the most important thing happening right now. Nia watched them from across the room. Ji-Min appeared beside her. Your mother, he said, has done what no one else in 40 years has managed. To what? Nia said. To have my father look like he is having fun. Nia laughed. He looked at her laughing. Then he smiled, slowly and fully. She caught him looking. What? She said. Nothing. He reached for her hand. Nothing, my love. Then 6 years later. Do you copy? The voice was very small and very serious and fully committed to the operation. Kang Ji-Min pressed his back flat against the hallway wall, both hands raised, eyes forward. Copy, he said quietly. I have visual on the target. A small head appeared around the corner, peered into the kitchen, disappeared. Full pot, unguarded. Coast is completely clear. Ji-Min nodded once. We move on my signal. Ready. He held up 3 fingers, dropped them one by one. They moved. Tae-won-min was 6 years old and had inherited his father's jaw and his mother's eyes and the combined stubbornness of both of them in a package that was either going to change the world or drive everyone around him to an early rest, still unclear which. He ran low along the kitchen floor, small sneakers squeaking slightly against the tile, and Ji-Min followed behind him in a crouch that his knees were not thanking him for. Tae-won reached the counter, straightened up, pointed at the pot. Ji-Min handed him the serving spoon with the gravity of a man completing a critical handoff. They worked quickly, quietly. A plate materialized from somewhere. Rice was scooped with careful precision, 1 spoonful at a time. Tae-won signaled, a small, extremely serious hand motion he had invented himself, and Ji-Min nodded. They picked up the plate. Who? Both of them turned immediately. Dares. The plate nearly went airborne. "Touch my Jellof rice." Nia stood in the kitchen entrance, one hand on the doorframe, one hand on her hip, looking at her husband and her son with the expression of a woman who knew this was going to happen from the moment she left the kitchen, had given them exactly enough time to commit to it fully, and was now here to collect. Silence. Taewon looked at his father. Ji-Min looked at the ceiling. Then they both started laughing at exactly the same moment. The same laugh, slightly different pitch. And Taewon pointed at his father with his whole arm extended. "It was his idea. He planned it. He made me do it." Ji-Min's head dropped. He said do exactly what he does. He gave me the spoon. He counted down." That was a military exercise. For rice. The rice was incidental. You said the target was the rice. The target was the operation. Nia had both hands over her face. Her shoulders were shaking. The parental authority she had arrived with had lasted approximately 9 seconds. "Taewon, we don't betray our people." Ji-Min pointed. "Thank you." "We also do not steal from the pot." Ji-Min lowered his hand. Taewon was laughing so hard he was folding at the middle. Ji-Min grabbed him, one arm scooping him up clean off the ground, and Taewon shrieked and wriggled and kept laughing. Ji-Min tucked him under one arm and used his free hand to roughen the boy's hair, ruffling it in every direction while Taewon yelled at high volume, and Ji-Min yelled back that you do not inform on your commanding officer, and Taewon said, "It is not," and the kitchen was full of noise. Ji-Min set him down, turned, pulled Nia close before she could finish recovering her face, and kissed her on the cheek, then the other cheek, then back to the first one. "Ji-Min." Another kiss. "Ji-Min, stop." 2 more. He kissed her cheek again slightly aggressively, and she finally gave up entirely and just laughed, full and unguarded, the laugh she only had in this kitchen with these 2 people. Taewon made a noise of total disgust from somewhere behind them. "Can we eat now?" he said. Ji-Min straightened up, looked at Nia, looked at the pot. "The question is whether we are still in trouble." Nia looked at both of them, her husband and her son, standing in her kitchen, one with perfectly destroyed hair and the other with a completely unrepentant expression. She got 3 plates from the cabinet, set them on the counter. "Sit down," she said, "both of you." They sat immediately. She served 3 portions. She sat across from them. And the kitchen was warm, and it smelled exactly like it always did on the best days, like the rice and the smoke underneath it, and the patience it took to make something properly. And Nia looked at her family, eating at her table, and heard her grandmother's voice from somewhere inside the good distance of memory, telling her that food made with love feeds more than the stomach. She picked up her fork. The man who barely chewed to survive, the boy who had been born from 2 worlds and fit perfectly into both. All of them home in a kitchen that smelled like Jellof rice. What a cute, beautiful family. And wait. I found it. I finally found the correct saying. It's, "Don't judge a book by its cover." That's the one. That is exactly what I meant this whole time. Subscribe to this channel. Like, share it with someone. You already know we will be back with another one. Thanks for watching.